So the interesting thing, you know, in the picture, if you just, it's figurative. When you look at it, it's figurative, but it's the opticality that creates these interesting shapes. So and it's bipartite. You know, and so there's binaries and all sorts of things, because when people say, how in the world did that give this? It's the structure. It's the structure. It's structures.
Yeah.
And, but the way the structures come about is sort of, it deals with sort of perception, visual perception, which is very interesting. So what it does is you've taken away the depth and you're just treating them all as just form.
Right.
So, and that's kind of what's happening here.
Yeah.
But yet, even though you're reducing them to just, to form, there's still something illusory about them. And what I like about these is, I think, because of the strong contrast in the colors, and you especially the warm and the cool, you get this great sort of push-pull going. This one probably more so than that one, because everything's sort of cooling and receding back on that one. And so it's kind of, this one almost bridges to the other blue one, which becomes the bridge to these ones that are more, you know, subtle. But on this, I think since you're doing it with form, these are also, for people who can't tell, these are very, very matte. There's no reflection. They're very, very flat. And what made you think of that? Is it because when you looked at the picture, you realized you were breaking it down into just the formal aspect of just forms and ignoring the illusory aspects? Because usually then when you have sheen or modeling, then you get this depth, and it becomes more, you know, creating this space. But even though these are very absorptive surfaces, meaning they're very flat, you still get this sort of push-pull. You still get these things where you see them, even though you say they're really not, you know, I forget the word you used earlier when you introduced it, but they do look like they're overlapping. And
they are hooked together.
Yeah. So they look like a chain link.
Well, one aspect of it is that I am really interested in paintings of buildings and architecture in early art, from, you know, Indian miniatures, Mughal painting, Asian painting, where there is, and pre-Renaissance painting, where there is an effort being made to make things three-dimensional, but they remain flat on the surface. Often, you know, the floor pattern does not change. It has no dimensionality, but the building does, but then something else doesn't. I'm fascinated by that, and I love it. I love the humor of it, and I'm enchanted by it. And I think that has something to do with these paintings, which is, yeah, they definitely suggest things hooked together, but they also let go of each other in some way, and serve to dance around with that third color. So that's part of it. And the other thing is, I actually have always wanted my paintings to be flat, without any reflective surface. And so I've experimented with lots of different kinds of paint to try and get as invisible a surface as possible. And even though I paint these with a brush, flat, you know, just brushing it out, I really want the color to hang in space, just be in space wherever it sits with the viewer, and things do come back and forth, and that's very important to me, though, that there really is no surface. And it doesn't have anything to do with a philosophy about the painter's touch or hand or anything. I want to liberate the color from any kind of reflection, anything that holds it in space.
So have you ever painted the edges or sides?
No.
Okay.
No, that is kind of a philosophical thing. The painting is two-dimensional, It doesn't go around the edges.
Well, the way you were talking, it just reminded me of Stella. It is what it is, you know, sort of thing. It's just
it's a painting. It's
or
not
Warhol. It's all surface.
Well,
you know?
yeah. I mean, so, in a way, if I paint the edges, then it's wall sculpture.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about these is that they're not painted on the side. It's the raw canvas on the side, and so it is just it's the surface. But you know. These aren't just one coat of paint. I mean, there's a lot of paint in there because they're very, very, very matte, and so you must have done quite a few layers to just because it's all very smooth.
Well, I really prepare the canvas.
Yeah, very perfect.
I have to prepare the canvas really a lot, and I can't put too much paint on, or it starts to create a thickness problem. And with this particular paint, it can crack if it gets too thick, and so I try to pull it off in as few coats as possible, and if I can't, I just unstretch it and start over. I did. This is in the past. These are old paintings for me.
Yeah, from 90 to 95.
Except one, which we'll talk about.
But they're perfect. I mean, they're just in incredible condition, and but your work is always that way. I mean, that's just sort of the way you work.
It's always,
so
that's true.
Even your new work, which by the way does have a gloss to it. It does have a finish. Those ones on panel that we had too.
Very little. It's little as possible.
They're not as
but it's a different process because they're painted on a panel.
Right. Yeah, it's a much harder surface. But again, though, it's that being pristine and very sort of perfect, and you know the edges and all the quality of it. But yeah, I really do like these, and and there's the red one. I mean, these are probably the most colorful of them. But again, there's still dark colors in them. You mix in a lot of brown, black, black and white, and then it's just this one contrasting color typically.
Well, I'll tell you, the primary color paintings, I worked very hard to get that third color, a value that is pretty much exactly in between black and white. Mm-hmm. So it's not just any red, it's a red that is in value. So the relationship from here to here is the same as the relationship from here to here, if you think of it like a musical note.
Oh, yeah, no, I noted that. That didn't escape me because they're not, you don't pick something that's deliberately sort of
That's just
wild.
True. That's just true.
Yeah,
of
they all
these.
just work really, really well together.
That's true of the high contrasting paintings.
Yeah, well, even that one that's the white.
Actually,
black,
it's
gray.
true of all of them, I guess. Yeah. I mean, the gray painting is sort of classic of this series for me. The one that we haven't seen that one yet.
Right. No, we will when we actually show the other one, because that newer painting. Because that's why I put them together. They actually work very well together. And
I'd like to say something about this little painting.
Sure, yeah.
So this is very different, and there are about 3 little paintings like this. In this case, the middle color definitely belongs to the dark. I mean, it's not midway in value. It belongs to the dark. And I was just interested in what that did as a very different relationship thing where the forms really function totally differently. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
everything dark sort of becomes a form. I'm glad you kind of mentioned
that one, because that is different, and the same almost with the little one that's sort of, it looks ivory, but it's not. It's actually very dilute ochre.
There are 2 or 3 that are like this,
Yeah, dilute ochre with the white in the center and the black.
Right.
And so, you definitely were playing with some things, and I lined them up a little bit this way, and I put that one into sort of a break so they weren't all sort of similar. But I really did the 3 large ones, have them on this other wall together, because I think they relate so well together. In fact, I would love to see them exhibited or in somebody's collection like that, because they actually work so well together. Mm-hmm. And especially with that jade in the middle. So rather than us talk about it abstractly to people, we will go ahead and turn the camera around. So we'll pause here.